right. Good evening, everybody. We are live here on Comic Asylum Live with Steve and Jay. And we've got Jay doing his superhero entrance. Well done. I saw the cape flapping behind you. It's all good. And we are honored to be joined here by Marco. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Jay, how's your week been?
I needed the fuel, so I was like, I had to go get my fuel, and then but the weekend was good. A lot of developments happening, like so many things on the go right now. Like I have projects on projects right now. Hopefully, some of them will actually bear some fruit. We'll see what happens, but really excited to talk about that tonight. So yeah, it's always great to be back on Comics Asylum.
All right, perfect. And Marco, what's going on with you? What do you got going on?
Well, it's more of a development time. You're standing by. Like you always have like the one that you're finishing, the one you're writing, and the one that's like just at the beginning. So I have there's a comic series we're starting, and there's a short we're wrapping up the effects on, and a couple like features that we're writing and pitching. But it's kind of like, what are you allowed to do in the next year kind of thing. So like you look forward at the next 6 months to a year. What am I allowed to do? what's open? Like I always remember that Bruce Lee quote of, be like water.
Right. Hard like water, soft like water.
I think that's it. Wherever you're allowed to go, and just be just know that you're blessed that you're allowed to go in that direction. So we'll see where we're allowed to go probably by October.
Excellent. And we'll take a deep dive into some of the stuff that you're working on, including your past I guess OGN that you've had out at several events at Gotham and whatnot, and also what you're doing in the film world, because since we're going to be dipping into horror movies and what discovering whether there's superhero fatigue or whether it's just enough chatter to keep people interested in not just the movies but the business itself, because it's when you think about it, like comics is doing the same thing where it's a time of change, right? And Jay, you can fill me in here if it's like into the toy realm as well too. But all of the regular channels and all of the regular kind of like levels that we might have been used to in the last 5 to 10 years minus COVID, those are all different now. So in terms of generating buzz and getting stuff out there and trying to figure out how to be profitable, everything has gone sideways, and people and companies are trying to figure out what's the best way to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of the whole landscape has changed. I mean, like as you said, ever since COVID, things have just have gone kind of like sideways. And creators really have had to become creative, in their efforts to fund and or create new properties. It's a crazy time to be a creator, but it's an exciting time. Toys in general, I've never seen so many independent toys hit the crowdfund market. I've never seen that in my life, and successfully, I might add. So it really is a renaissance in many ways, and nostalgia is massive, absolutely massive. Now there's a fear that nostalgia is about hitting its peak right now. It is an interesting conversation to always have, but in terms of today's conversation, I think Hollywood really needs to take a step back and figure out what they're doing, and I think that perhaps smaller budgets, smaller productions with better direction, better directors, and just a more focused aspect on storyline and key plot points would really help a lot of these productions in their overall direction. And it's just something that. And here's something I would like to bring up. I think Hollywood needs to get back to experimenting again. I think that the cookie cutter model of we need to make money, right? Superhero, is it's too much. I think that the public has now had its fill of these cookie cutter, one way of doing things, very simple stories, very simple thing. I think we need to get back to Shawshank Redemption. I think we need to get back to which of course is what's it called? God, what was that Stephen King film?
Stand?
The Green Mile. We need to get back to these experiential, very fringe type of films where they took risks, right? Once upon a time, Goodwill Hunting. Goodwill Hunting was a complete risk. Who wants to watch a movie about a freaking a near autistic guy who basically go on the weekend hangs out with his guys, but he's a freaking genius. Like who wants to think Rain Man? You know what I mean? Like who thought those films would have been smash successes, right? Cocktail. Who the fuck wants to watch a movie about a freaking guy, mixing drinks in a bar? You know what I mean? Like these are the films which are no longer entertained at Hollywood. If it doesn't have a big budget attached to it, or if it doesn't have some sort of killer lineup, nobody wants to talk about it. But you know what? There are these freaking indie films like Army of the Dead. You know what I mean? Freaking Night of the Evil Dead. Like all these great films that really have cult followings, and to this day, still have immense drawing power. And now, as I said, with nostalgia, they've had their own run of television, series. Right? The Evil Dead. How long did that last? It lasted a season and a half, or was it just one season? I can't remember anymore.
I can't remember.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Basically, we're seeing all this, and look at video games are now starting to take a huge impact on Hollywood, which of course has been the discussion for years, right? Hollywood versus video games, right? Video games is literally taking that top spot, and now video games are starting to suffer massively, right? But now Hollywood is taking an interest in video games by producing amazing series like The Last of Us. I don't know if you guys have watched The Last of Us, but The Last of Us is insane.
I haven't seen it, but I know there's it's interesting. There's this interesting controversy because, in one case, from what I'm gathering, you can correct me on this, The Last of Us actually follows the game pretty well in terms of
incredibly close.
When characters come, who's now going to take over as the lead, and viewers are pissed off.
Incredibly close. Yeah. Now they do deviate, and in a lot of ways, very well, I might add. There's an episode with a specific character who lives alone, and in the storyline, it's completely different in the game compared to the series. But it was done so expertly. I was like, wow, this is inspired, right? But for the most part, it's almost 1-to-1. Now the second season they're doing a little bit more of a departure, which is fine. Narratively wise, it works in many regards. But for the most part, it's right on the track of where it should be. There's a lot of other films. Another Sony video game which is coming. It's again another horror film. It's about these teenagers in the woods, in a cabin. Sound familiar, right? But it revolves around an ancient spirit who's taking people over. It's pretty crazy. My brother played the game, and I can't remember the name. The name is escaping me, but I think it.
It's not Cabin in the Woods, though.
No, it's not Cabin in the Woods, but it is a story about kids in the cabin in the woods. So
right.
I'm trying to recall what that is, but anyway, it's a good film. It's a good film.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna start with some news because I want to take a pretty good chunk and go into the film stuff, but I'm gonna start with some comic book news. And DC dropped some news today.
Did we introduce?
Oh yeah, we did.
Vaguely, I was vague.
I've been doing this for last 15 minutes, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we did introduce him, and Marco's going to have plenty of time to chop it up because as a filmmaker and a comic book creator, his hands are pretty much in the pot of being creative in these mediums. So it'll be interesting to get his point of view. Because you, Marco, you're on all aspects of film too, right? So just give us a little bit of a rundown on what you do.
Well, it's kind of not by choice. I think sometimes where, because I'm not going to pretend to be successful, but I'm still here. And I think in a lot of art forms or creative work, if you're still trying to do it and doing it 15 years, 20 years later, that is kind of from my point of view, one of the kinds of successes that you can hope for at least in Canada, just still doing it. So I kind of started as a painter and then got into photography and writing, and then into film and kind of mixed everything together. So I'm very visual about how I make things, and I'm usually when if I like every 3 or 4 years, I kind of sometimes get to make a film of some kind, and I'm usually shooting it and directing it and writing it depending on the project. And when it comes to the comics, there's a team of probably, it's funny, it's probably more people on the team in the comics sometimes because you have, 5 to 10 people. So depending on the project, it either expands to more people or you keep it at the size that's required. So when you're working in like low budget or even micro budget realm, you kind of have to decide where the money should go and how you can push the project forward. So for me, it's like, is this story, can it be a painting? Can we tell it in a simple film, or is it something that's, we can't really do right now and it just needs to be developed into something else? So I think when I started doing comics, maybe almost not that long, but like 10, 12 years ago, I was taking, luckily enough, Ty Templeton was still doing his comic book boot camp years ago. And I met the artists that I work with there and a bunch of other people that we still work with. So we kind of developed stories in comics. And I think one of the quotes that I always remember from Ty Templeton about the difference between comics and film is that in film, you're passively watching. But in a comic, the gutter is where the reader kind of fills in the gaps, and the comic projects into their mind. And it's a completely different medium. So I think for me, the fun was relearning how to walk in this new way of telling stories. So it's not like you sit there, is this a comic or is this a movie? It's sort of like, you're kind of making one of each in different times and building worlds and seeing where that world will fit. And in terms of budget, what you're allowed to do. So, it's kind of like a circular conversation that I just had, not answering your question, I think. But what I do is kind of try to find a space for the stories that I'm writing, depending on where they're allowed to go and what the budget dictates. And when I can, I make a comic, which is like a completely different realm of storytelling that just like use a different part of your brain, and it's a different kind of team. And the funny thing is, like, a short film and a comic book cost the same amount of money. People don't think that's true, but it is the same budget usually. And it's sort of like, where is your story going to go, and that defines the format. And for me, it's more of how do you build up your own kind of, not network, but audience. Because we were talking before about how we survive. It doesn't matter what you're making, what your content is. We all have to become our own media channels. You're doing it with this podcast. You're doing it with your stuff on toys. And I think in some cases, me and other creators are behind, where we don't have that little bit of a space where we're always pushing out the social media stuff. So I think that's my next step, is relearning social media again and not being afraid of it as much, and seeing how you can use different channels to tell the stories. So I think that's where I'm heading towards in the next 6 months to a year, is how do I do what I'm doing, but in a more social way that expands the story and brings people along with you as you're making. And I see everyone doing it. It's just like, I think for me, it wasn't just a self-confidence thing. It's more of a, should I really be doing that? Do I belong in that space? So I'm going to do a couple tests over the next year just to see where I can take my storytelling and how I just kind of build up the audience as I go. And that was me rambling for a bit. So maybe we got to move on to another question.
No. It was actually great and great advice for anyone who's listening. And like, I know Jay, out of the three of us, he has been the most intrepid with his channel. He dove right into it, feet first, and kicking and screaming, and has amassed an amazing community of retro toy enthusiasts. And I will give Jay his flowers all the time, because he's done a great job. And if you want to know how to kind of do this stuff, he couldn't pick a better mentor, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah, just about to joke about that. You're my mentor now. Hi.
Mega J Retro Yoda.
I'm about to slide into your DMs.
Mark, you don't have to worry about that. Like, I'm an open book. Steve's
Yeah.
know this. I'm always happy to share my knowledge if I consider that even knowledge. Um, there are some obvious mantras that everyone should follow, but for the most part, hard work and just just certain principles. They're all based on what social media, at least with YouTube, is expecting, right? Um, but as a medium, as you said, it's important to it's funny what you said, for various quotes from different creators, is true. You want to build a community. You People have this notion that if you build it, they will come. That's not entirely true. What you have to do is you have to build it, but then you have to grow it. The old saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Same idea. You need you need to be able to have something which is interesting enough for people to want to follow, and then you have to be able to continually nurture that community by providing the news, or the updates, or the commentary, or the opinions that they want to hear, right? And sometimes it's something that they don't want to hear. Sometimes you have to be the adult in the room, and start telling them that this is not good, this is bad, that type of idea. But you're gonna gain followers, you're gonna lose followers, but at the end of the day, your community will continue to grow, right? Like, it's pretty crazy, because and it'll go in waves, as far as I can, as it is with anything else. I started as an anime review channel with 80s, and sorry, 60s, 70s, and 80s cartoon reviews, and that had a specific success in itself, but nowhere near the success of nostalgia and toys, and connecting with people on that level, right? And I think that once that hit, you, as many YouTube experts, or whatever they're going to call themselves, do say over and over again, you have to niche down. You have to decide what it is that your niche is, and you have to stick to it. But there is the idea that if there's something that you're hoping for or wanting, sometimes it doesn't necessarily work, right? Or you have to change your format, or you have to change how you're doing things, right? I've been experimenting with multiple channels, and I've had my successes and my failures, right? So, but this one, um, you know, Steve talks about how I jumped in head first. That's not entirely true. I started this as a hobby, which is what you should always do. You should always start this as a hobby. Anybody who's looking to make a career out of this is not a good career path. I'm going to tell you straight up, this is not a good career path. What you really want to do is you want to start it as a hobby, and hopefully becomes something of a career later on.
Okay. No, that's great advice, and it's the same too, and also decide what your goal is, right? Comics Asylum allows us to get into the world of comics and talk to creators and talk to the companies and all that kind of stuff, and get early access to things. And then it allows us also to talk about our own stuff, right? So it's just a way of being out there and existing. And sometimes you're going to hit and be on fire, and other times it's going to not be as hot. And that's just the way it goes. But like, I think it was like when we started Comics Asylum as like a digital magazine back in like the mid 2000s, like maybe around 2015, 2016. What we discovered was that Empire magazine was owned by Warner Brothers. And so we were like, wait a second, they're pubbing their own stuff and then pubbing Sony as well too. And it's kind of like, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like an incestuous kind of relationship that the creative arm and the publicity arm have in all of these organizations, right? And now what's happening, because basically YouTube's like new media, the legacy media and the legacy companies are trying to figure out, well, how do we reach the new audiences? And like, we'll hop into something that I didn't see coming, but I was wondering why it didn't happen earlier, with some news with Disney and Star Wars, where they're scrambling to try to figure out where can we go to increase our footprint. And everyone's just, trying to figure out where those avenues are.
Yeah, I think the term that I remember from 30 Rock, vertical integration,
Yeah.
where they own every part of the production and distribution and marketing for the world. So how do you compete with that? Where, you kind of like, you always, as an artist, say, I'm just competing with myself, my last project, but you have to find a way around, just the endless stream of stuff that gets pumped up worldwide. It's not like stuff just gets released in North America. It's like, bam, the movies around the world. It gets on Netflix, 3 billion views next day. Like it's not like, how do you just have to know you're not competing with that, and just look around at like who's doing what you're doing and how are they doing it, and then try to talk to them about it. And I think that's like, you're not always running around asking people questions, but like you sort of know where people are. It's not like you're gonna, like, a comics is one of those places where you can go to an event and like Jim Zub or somebody will be there and you can technically talk to them. But like if you're in making films, you can't go up and talk to Steven Soderbergh or Spielberg. They're just not available. It's not like that. Whereas comics is this incredible space where we all accept that people are at different levels, but you can actually, wave at that person. And if there's a downtime at a convention, you can talk to them. Where I think film is a lot more closed doors. Not that doors in comics are open, but you can knock on the door and say hello, and someone might answer your question. Where in film, it seems there are a lot of like silos. And I think we all have to, I think that's the only problem I see with a lot of the social channels that build up, becomes your own little silo where how do you then reach forward to other people and stay open? Because I think for me, it's like, I do so many different things. What's hurting me is I'm not niche. I don't have that one specific thing. And I know that's what it is. And I've been facing that my whole life. It's just like, I make images that tell stories, but that's not specific enough. I have to be really, like, I have to pick one lane and stay in it, and my brain doesn't let me. So I've got like some problems in there.
You know what the irony is? And it just occurred to me. Actors forever, like, they fought against typecasting. But yet in the social media space and in like modern media, everyone's trying to be typecast. Yeah. So like, to be a blogger or an expert in this one area, you're a foodie, or you're a comic book person, or you're a movie person, or you're a toy person, or you're a fashion person, or whatever. And that's something that in the past, it was almost like diversity was what you were kind of going for, right? Like you knew everything, or you could talk about everything. Or if you're an actor or a writer, you want to do different things, draw different things, And now it's like you said, the silo. Like, you have a creative silo, you stick to it, people know what to expect from you, and they reward you for it if they enjoy what you're giving them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I've got something to share. Speaking of what we were talking about in terms of like getting your stuff out there to different audiences. So Marvel, or Disney, has gone to Webtoons and is bringing Star Wars and Marvel content to Webtoon. Original Marvel and Star Wars titles and more are on the way. So it's part of a larger deal between Disney and Webtoon Entertainment. Pre-existing and original Star Wars comics are on their way to the popular webcomic platform. Around 100 titles between Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, and 20th Century Studios will soon be available to read on Webtoon over the coming years. They will be available in a separate wing of the Webtoon English app.
Fascinating. There was a time where Marvel, DC, Image would not go anywhere other than mainstream, what's it called? Or even their own platforms. They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare stray outside that line, right? And now you have, this move is absolutely huge. Diversification right now in this market is important. We're seeing. So I made a video not too long ago about how hell is freezing over, and what I meant by that is that Hasbro and Mattel, two longtime rivals in the toy industry, have actually joined forces. and are actually allowing for cross pollination of their brands. Like Transformers has actually gone to Mattel. That is unheard of.
This is Bill Murray talking about cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs living together, right? The mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Right? This is the way it is. Possibly He-Man might make an appearance in some sort of Hasbro production. Who knows, right? But it's absolute chaos right now. It literally is absolute chaos. Like things are happening that have never happened before. But the market is shrinking so much because the digital age, it really has become a massive boom for some companies, but a massive headache for other companies. Like toy companies, which were traditionally very much locked in the children's market, they're seeing a continual shrink in their overall target audience. Why? Because the age out now is getting closer to like preschool. You know what I mean? Where they used to have a lock on tweens. Up to, right? Even Barbie to a certain extent. Young children are aging out really fast, right? The Barbie movie really did turn Hollywood on its head. But at the end of the day, was that nostalgia? Was that sharing of parents with their kids? Like, what was that? There's a secret sauce in there that they're still trying to figure out. But it overtook many of the Transformers blockbusters that had, and now Hasbro is no longer doing Transformers films. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So this move by Mattel, sorry, by Marvel, is an interesting one. But is it? Because I'm only seeing Star Wars here. Is it?
It's going to be Marvel stuff too, right? And I think this is the big one. Webtoon hosts around 155 million monthly users.
Yep.
With all the stuff that's been going on with Diamond, with Comixology cratering, where else are you going to find that kind of an audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what they'll need to do is they'll just have to reformat all of their pre-existing stuff, and anything that's getting done now, right, would just be repurposed for not only traditional, but also for webtoons.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like what's going on in film. And Marco, you can speak to this as well too, where everything is going towards like vertical dramas, where you can watch it on your phone.
Yeah. Well, they're with webtoons. I think this is happening. They're chasing after the younger audience. Like they have to do this.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the younger people are. If they could get the comics on roadblocks, they would. I just haven't figured it out yet. Like that's where anyone under 20 is getting their media. They're not anywhere else. They're just on webtoons on their phone and flipping through. Right. And same with everybody. One of the I can speak to this because I'm such a camera geek and image creator that if you've watched shows and movies long enough, you'll notice now that everything is framed for the middle.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You used to have things framed here and there. Now, if you watch a Netflix show, or especially something produced by the BBC or Europe, it's framed in the middle. And I guess people are used to it now. Like you watch some episodes of Sandman, a show called Black Doves on Netflix. And there was, when I first noticed this, I was heckling the screen. I was yelling at it because there was a show called Bodies on Netflix. And the first episode, they didn't know what was happening. Maybe the producers made them do this, but every shot is framed in the middle. Every reverse shot, every angle is perfectly in the middle. Then the next episode, it changes a little. It's like they didn't know where the show was going to go. Is it going to be vertical? Is it going to be on Netflix? And now when you watch stuff, it all looks different. Comedies did it first, where they stopped trying to frame it. Like you used, like, let's not talk about Lawrence of Arabia as an example, because that doesn't exist anymore. But let's say Dune, right? Or some really beautiful recent movie. They're not framing for the middle.
No.
But streaming stuff is, and it's to the point now where I have to accept it now. I've stopped yelling at the screen, but like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, when I started seeing it, I couldn't watch it. I had to stop it. My brain couldn't process the fact that I'm not on TikTok enough. I guess I should go back to posting more stuff there. But even how things are shot has changed, because it's so easy just to reframe things and post. It takes a minute to get somebody to do it. Yeah. But in the eyes of a producer or the people that run run this stuff. It's like, do they want to reformat for Webtoons? Like, that's the thing. It's like, how many different platforms can you be on at the same time? So that's the destination. Like, you have deliverables, whether it's a movie or a comic or whatever you're making, like you have a final product, right? But now you need multiple deliverables, like one that goes to Webtoons, one that goes to print, one might that go to digital PDF that might be sold online somewhere. So like you're always dealing with multiple destination formats or deliverables. And like if you're a smaller group of people, like one person, it's like, how do you do all these final formats, right? So that's another thing. It's like, but one of the hardest learning curves for any creative is like, what's your final deliverable? Like, you want to make a story, but what's the final format you're going to sell? What is that object? You know, where does it go? Where does it live? And with everything changing every 6 months, it's like by the time you're done, the format that you might have been getting stuff ready for is sometimes not there anymore. So you have to like see in the future and like, you know, have a crystal ball, it seems. But like, it's just be ready, I think, is my, you know, just kind of have to throw out that old mindset of everything used to be this way. But at the same time, if everyone is framing everything in the middle, even for like Webtoons, doesn't that like completely change how the story's told or how it's accepted? So that's another thing of looking back, or do you really change everything you've ever done to meet a format that exists now but might not be here in a year? So that's one of the things that I think we're all facing. Like, we know YouTube's going to be here, so I think we're okay for that. But the ones where you actually, you know, sell an item, who knows?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Before we continue, we've got some comments here. So we got Roughshot Stocks. What's up, Mega J, PM Volteri, and Steve? What's up? Thanks for joining in. And then we got Tuvaz Zone. Hi, everyone. OMG, the thumbnail completely freaks me out. Yes, it's from Weapons. It's a new horror film. And yeah, it does freak you out. And you actually know that actor if you watched Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You know that actor. It's Benedict Wong. And I saw the movie. It's really good. And we'll get to the horror aspect of stuff. I just want to get through some of the news first, and I want Jay's opinion on these toys, because we got some vintage toys and what they're worth, which kind of was like interesting. But yeah, you're totally correct, and I'll just throw this one in for Atrium. So we finished Atrium, and then it's like, oh, do you want to do it digitally? And you're like, okay, well, we have it as a digital PDF, but then do you have the augmented view?
Yeah.
So then you have to like isolate each panel. So when you're reading it either on Global Comics or whatever, you're going a panel by panel kind of way of reading it. And for an old head like myself, that totally changes the flow of the story. And when you think of like Webtoons, it also kind of does away with how a page is constructed as an artist, because you're taught flow within the panel and flow to the next panel, and then like, do you use a gutter? Do you not use a gutter? Like what you were talking about before, Marco, with like that space in the middle is sometimes the most important part of the story, because it's what happens in between there that gets you to that next panel, right? And so you have to like then think, okay, so how do you construct your page? How do you construct your story? And then who's going to convert it? Like, who's going to go around and have the time to do it? Because like, you're already giving up time and energy and in some cases money to do it in one way, much less 3 different versions, right? It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, you know what? It's very interesting to like, now that you bring that up. I just did so you know what? Since we're all sharing here,
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah. Why don't I bring something up which is fascinating in my opinion, because I just did this. I did this exercise the other day. Now it doesn't have speech balloons, but we might as well play it, and you guys tell me what you think, because I think this is fascinating. Now that it's actually something that I brought up. I had to format. So as you guys know, I went to as Steve knows, I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and I had a presentation for Flipboard and the Champions of Nefariety. We had a panel at the con, and we as a team decided it would be advantageous for us to put together a video comic and showcase it at the show for people who haven't read the mini comic that was included with the book. So I took it upon myself, as well as the rest of our team, to put this together so that we could have it in time for the show. And let me just see if I have it here somewhere. Yeah, okay. So I have the. Hold on, I'm just double checking where the heck I put it, because
No worries.
it should be here. I think. Just let me check the final render.
If you can't find it, then we can share some more news, and then when you find it, we'll pop it up right away.
Yeah, why don't you talk about the news, and I'll show you what it is that we did.
Yeah, so this, no worries. This is a piece of news from DC that dropped today. And so for anyone who is a fan of Static Shock and Batman Beyond, you are getting a treat. So they're going to be part of a 6-issue limited series, I think starting in November.
Wow.
So let me jack this up here so you guys could see it. Yeah, there we go. So DC announces Batman Static Beyond. Terry McGinnis and Virgil Hawkins go beyond into a bold new adventure. Today, DC announced Batman Static by artist and writer Evan Narcisse and artist Nicholas Draper-Ivy, a bold new 6-issue limited comic book series featuring Static and Batman Beyond. So that'll be the Terry McGinnis version, launching this fall under their DC Elseworlds imprint. Wow. And I'm really happy that they're bringing back Elseworlds personally. I've like the beauty of things like Elseworlds is that you could keep main continuity and not have to worry about stuff. You could just kind of go ahead and enjoy an alternate timeline story or an alternate reality story or a multiverse story and not have to weave into everything. And so here's some of the covers. We've got this one I think this one is by Ivy. Yeah, so this is Nicholas Draper-Ivy. So this is a great cover. And I think there's 4 that they released. I'll show you guys another one. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. This one I think is by Dustin Yen. And Batman Beyond, it's amazing. Like, personally, like kind of like Spider-Man 2099, this is how you reboot a character. This is how you give people what they want, but not a rehash. And I get what the companies are doing because they're looking to make sure that their brands continue to roll in money. The Batman's a sure bet. Spider-Man's a sure bet. Like, you really can't argue about that. So when Jay, you were talking about this, and I totally agree with you. Can we get something original? Right? Like, I love new IP. But these companies are so heavily leveraged on having to get like hits that they go back to the well over and over and over again.
Yep. Right? I mean, I remember back in the day when manga and anime were really starting to take off into the lexicon, becoming part of the lexicon. Marvel, for the first time in a generation, decided we need to create a manga line. Right, and they actually allowed for new content for new creators to come in with their ideas, and out of that came Runaways. It's the only title that actually survived that era, right? And Adrian Alfona, good friend of ours, right? He was one of the Canadian creators along with his team who actually was able to create that, and it's been as successful as anyone could have expected. As a matter of fact, it even got a small. What was it, like 5 or 6 episodes, or was it a full season? I think they got a full season. In the land of no. Sorry about that.
No worries. No, I just muted it. Yeah, I think it was a full season.
Yeah, it was a full season, and it surprised everybody, right? But because the manga industry is massive, right? It is what Marvel and DC are hoping to achieve here in the West, right? Where everybody reads manga, not just high school kids, not just teenagers, not just kids. No, everybody reads manga, right? And manga is ubiquitous, right? It's printed on newsprint. It's printed in collection anthologies for multiple stories. In just like a huge, gigantic, 600-page book, and people just find their favorite artists. They flip through the book and they read it, but it's purchased by everybody, right? For something ridiculous, like I think it's like something like 800 yen or something like that, $8. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. I'm pretty sure it's more expensive than that, but today. But it is just ridiculous, and that's where Marvel was hoping to, and DC were hoping to try and capture, right? Image was experimenting with it with Battle Chasers. You know what I mean? Like Madreo was just he was a product of that whole generation, right? His hybrid style of comic book and manga illustration really captured the imagination of a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like Battle Chasers was huge. I remember when that hit the scene. The only problem with Battle Chasers at the time was the inconsistency. The release schedule was just horrid, right? Joe just could not nail it down. He was doing way too many conventions, way too many appearances. He got involved in video games. Again, it was just the good problem to have, right? But the around that time was amazing for just the time of the rise of Image and the ups and downs of Marvel and DC. It was a crazy time. Bankruptcies, the whole 9 yards. And now we're looking at this. Marvel is once again a huge juggernaut. DC is trying to play catch up, right? Where for a while it was the opposite way. Again, the higher you go, the harder you fall. But then you can always bounce back. It's just the same old adage from years ago.
Yeah, so true, so true. So let's see if we can get this sucker rolling.
In the land of Neferity, these are your heroes. Stand before destiny and flip for your life. Only one can stand the test of time. This is Flipper and the champions of Neferity.
So these pages
the Target Marketplace.
We basically eliminated them.
Sorry, say that again.
The market buying sundry goods from them.
No, what I was saying was that initially all these panels had speech balloons, right?
Right.
We actually in order for this format to work better for a narrative and everything like that, I decided to remove all the speech balloons so that it was more of a clear, almost visual, experience.
No, that's fair. Like when you, and this is something we're toying with Atrium as well too, is to turn it into like almost not a motion comic, but almost like an audio comic.
Yeah, this is not a motion comic. It is an audio comic, but it has visuals and there are effects to make it a little bit more engaging. But you'll see how it flows a little bit. And I've added scenes which were not originally in the book. Like for instance, this entire fresco, which you did, Steve. This is your work, right? This is
it did look familiar.
Target Marketplace. As consumers mill about the market buying sundry goods from vendors, among them a lone figure walks. Fancy a look at our wares, traveler?
What do we have here?
Item classification, statuette, item scarcity, common, potential flipping value, negligible.
Think I'll pass, friend.
That's him right there. That's the piece of dog shit who sold me this shield for way above market value.
On your knees. All right, let's take it easy, gents. I'm just trying to make $1.
Take it easy, my dick and balls. Time to pay the piper, Flipper.
Actually, the name is Flipper.
Oh, my eye!
You fucking piece of shit! Catcher, I got heat on me. Where you at?
What do you think? The pallets are about 1 minute from being unloaded. We already got a line of buyers.
I'll make it.
There he is!
Time to bring out the big guns. FOMO! Fuck yeah, that's right.
45 seconds, Flip. Get here now.
I'll be there in 5.
Halt!
Now, bots! Hey, what the hell? Flip me, boys! Always have a backup plan, losers.
Took you so long.
What are you howling about? You got us a spot in line.
Yeah, well, bad news. There's 32 people ahead of us, and I just found out there's only 20 orbs of wanting. We're cooked.
What about the online sale?
Just as limited, but I'll do my best to kill the captures. 10 more seconds.
Hey, what the fuck? You can't hold spaces.
Flip, do something.
I got one more ace up my sleeve.
What the hell?
Hey, where did he go?
But how?
He's gone.
You gonna tell me how you did that?
Bots made me this new stealth suit. It'll hold for a few seconds. Just enough time.
Before the drop. Go, go, go!
Step right up. Single file now. Once we're out, we are out.
They're down to 3 orbs. One left. Come on, Flip. Make a move.
Tap, tap, tap. Cut. Huh? Hey, what the hell?
Last one. Thank you. Come again.
Hey, this fucking guy cut in front of me.
Oh, sure. I just magically appeared in front of you, right?
I waited in line all night for that.
Hey, you can still have it if you want. With just a little bit of a markup, that is.
Go fuck yourself and get a real job, you parasite asshole.
Looks like I got one, friend. Deuces. I gotta catch ya.
Well, I've got good news too. Was able to snag 2 on the online sale.
Oh, shit. A triple orb flip? Mother's gonna be happy about that.
Looks like some things never change.
That voice. Is that you, Bay?
You will address her as mistress of the auction house.
How about you address me as eat my ass?
That's quite enough. Bay was the old me, sweetie. Call me Evil Bay.
Holy shit sticks.
Now, let's talk about what we can flip together.
To be continued.
Yeah, so that was just a a really simple example of how we had to reformat the media to the work, the artwork to fit the media. But I figure it must be they will probably do something very similar in webtoons where they're just going to frame out certain scenes and just let the even if you see certain vertical bars all over the place, they're just going to let it happen. I've done a couple of those web comics and nothing nearly as extensive, but just read-alongs, which I've talked to you about at length, Steve. But this is another example of that. This one has no visual dialogue, but it was all driven by the performances of the cast, right? So it was a lot of fun to put that together, and we pulled it together in about a week just prior. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but it still is a lot of fun, and sound effects and the audio track really do help, but treading on that line of copyright, but it is what it is, because people who listen who are fans of Master Universe will probably hear something in the background. They're very
there's some cues there for sure, but like Tuvazone says, so much fun to watch and listen to. Yeah, for sure. No, thank you for the great comment. So we're gonna shift things around a bit, and because we're getting into the motion and storytelling and whatnot, we've had 2 blockbusters with Superman and FF come out, and I think that the hopes of both studios, DC studios as well as the MCU, were kind of hoping that these 2 films would kind of usher in, I would say, maybe a new age of excitement for superhero movies. But by all accounts, maybe we're in the age of superhero fatigue. And when you look at horror films, and I got this chart from our good friend Adriano from Pesto Comics, and I'll bring it up. Excuse me. It's amazing how horror movies have taken a bite out of overall box office, and while they may not necessarily be riding the wave of years past, because I don't think anything is doing that, they may be a safer bet, and maybe what's saving the box office from a complete, I wouldn't say implosion, because when you're making 500 million, 600 million, you're doing okay. but it's when you factor in the budgets and then the promotion that you're asking a lot. Like, you got to hit home runs all the time. Like, I look at horror as, if you use a baseball analogy, small ball, a couple of singles, some doubles, the odd triple, and you might hit a home run. But, you know, superhero movies with these big tent movies, kind of like Mission Impossibles, anything that's a huge IP, you got to hit a home run. You're looking for a 3-run dinger all the time.
Yeah, there's a tendency for as we've been talking about this whole time. You know what I mean? Like the industry seems to be their mindset right now is on sure bets, right? Or what they believe to be sure bets. But in going that route, they seem to have forgotten the tenets of what makes a good film, right? They've forgotten what the basic idea of filmmaking, you know, and the fact that people need to enjoy the films that they're watching. And you look at films like Deadpool. The first Deadpool, it was done on a shoestring budget, and it made you know, millions of dollars. Like, it crushed it at the box office, and people were shocked, right? I remember on interviews the director at the time saying something like, "I don't want a big budget because then I'll be expected to, you know, have to make that back. It'll destroy." It'll destroy the chances for this thing to actually be a good film. And what they did with the special effects was just fine. You know what I mean? It was a very simple story. It didn't need, you know, anything too outlandish. I mean, Colossus was probably the most of the big budget special effects that they had there, right? A full CG character, right? But other than that, everything was very simple and very practical, right? And I think that we're seeing a return to that with Star Wars. But Star Wars is a different beast entirely, where they'll mix practical with just outlandish effects. But what they're doing with the Mandalorian now, or they did with the Mandalorian TV series, and actually with multiple television series, just to give that grandiose effect, where they have an entire studio, which is just a wraparound
the volume
film effect. That's saving them. That's saving them multi-millions of dollars, because they can augment. They can augment what used to be done in post alive, and actually gives the actors something to see. Right? They no longer have to imagine or pretend about what their environment looks like. They actually know where they're standing. The innovations that are coming out now in order to save money are fascinating. But as you said, Steve, I think that budgets and expectations on films to be blockbusters has really hurt the industry. It has not helped them at all.
Yeah, and I'll just one thing, and then I'm going to throw this to Marco. One of the beauties of the volume is that you don't have to worry about like day for night, and you can schedule things where you're not having to worry necessarily like, oh, we're losing sunlight or whatever. And Marco, you can talk about this because you're a filmmaker, but I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, just a quick joke about the volume is it's actually kind of expensive to shoot in a volume space if you're not, you know, relatively medium to big budget. But let's not get into the specifics of that kind of space. You know, the cost of that during the pandemic became how they were doing things. And so let's not inside baseball background, blue screen, green screen stuff. But I think that example that's for me, because I follow the work of Steven Soderbergh a lot, because like he does whatever he wants. And you know, he's earned that. He's got multiple Oscars. He can do anything he wants, but he's found a way to shoot with very small cameras, very small crews. So 2 movies came out this year from him: Presence. And then Black Bag. Presence was like $1 million. Shot himself, almost no stars, all newcomers, and you know, made its money back and then some. The other movie, Black Bag, $50 million, a lot of big stars. It's on Prime now, I think. It's a great movie, actually. It's an old-fashioned 90-minute thriller, in and out, you know, very like really well done. But it did make its $50 million back. Not just because it wasn't a horror movie, because people are expecting that type of a movie to be streaming, because of how we've trained the audience that you just wait another 3 weeks, it'll be on your screen, it'll be at home. You know, why go to the theaters, right? And the audience, like, you think back to those movies making $1.5 billion, $2 billion, that audience, I don't think is there anymore. Like, it's just not, generationally, it's changed. And I think the true test of this is going to be the next Avatar movie. If James Cameron can't get $2 billion, nobody can. Like when that gets a worldwide release on every screen in the world, we'll see what happens. And the fatigue is real because they were following a template for so long. And what happened is they're not experiential anymore because you know what's going to happen. Like, the hardcore fan sees the, one item or a new costume, it hits them, but not the general audience.
Yeah.
Right. So when a horror movie, doesn't matter what it is, it's experiential. You feel it when it's done well. And that's why you go to the theater. You feel it with a lot of people and it makes it scarier. You watch it at home, you're like, what are you talking about? This movie Barbarian's not scary at all. But
Right.
had you been in the theater to hear people gasp when that one twist happened, that's the difference. And that's another reason why like all these Korean filmmakers are so successful for so long, is because they're making things that were different. I think in 1999 was like peak Hollywood. You had The Matrix and hundreds of very creative new movies. And then they kind of stopped doing it. I can't explain what happened in 1999, but it was like peak of the creativity of Hollywood stopped there, it feels like. And then someone made a lot of movie on, you can blame Iron Man or whatever you want to blame in terms of everyone following that model. But something happened where they stopped taking risks. And in a horror movie, you're allowed to take risks. One, because the budget's lower, and two, because you have to shock or scare the audience. You have to find a new way. And especially with the low budget stuff, it's like there's still room for you to make a low budget horror movie and to find a mass audience. And I'm not talking about, Blair Witch Project or some giant, giant hit. It's because you don't need a giant hit. You can make 5 or 10 and still, succeed. And there's an active appetite for it. There was a Canadian movie that was recently bought by A24 that was produced by Black Fawn Film. Let me just scroll, see if I can find it. It's called The Undertow, directed by Ian Tuason, and it's produced by Black Fawn Films. And this is going to get by A24 a full release sometime next year. And that was I don't think it was micro budget, but it was a pretty small budget. It's not something like you make something good. I think in horror is one of the last places where if you make something good, people will see it eventually, whether it's on Shudder, they'll find it. Horror fans will go and find it. And there's a big following. They'll even buy physical media still. And there's just something about the repetitive nature of the superhero stuff where it's not just that it's not new anymore. They are not trying to create a new twist or a new, now we see him in the yellow costume. Like that's the thing, which is great for the comic fans. And that movie made a lot of money, but does it hit wider? Like Fantastic Four, sure, it was a good movie. They did something different, but does it have that mass appeal anymore? I think that people need something new, especially the younger generation needs something new to be drawn out to the theaters. And if you took a look at the demographic of who's going to the theaters, if you look at the horror movies, they're bringing in a younger demographic than a lot of the superhero movies are now.
No, that's a great point. Tuvaz Zone says 1999 was the end of the world. Yeah, the 2000 computer shutdown. What was that? Y2K?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Sure. For sure. But like Pesto on his Blue Sky account, Adriano was like, horror has always had a place in theater. It's a low risk, high reward bargain. The genre is just as guilty as any with too many sequels and leaning on IP, but it's also taking a lot of risks with new properties. And the cool thing about it is you don't have to sell a horror movie with a star because, half the cast is going to die anyway. But it's more the scares and the sound design and the visceral kind of effects that you get by sitting there watching it, right? Because most really good horror movies have a lot of heart, whether it's wrapping you in and you're feeling or empathizing with the characters, or you're trying to figure out how they're going to beat whatever this thing is, whatever this, and it's not where you're super powered. It's an every person's kind of battle, and I think that's what connects it. And just looking at this chart, and we'll get off this chart in a second. Obviously, things have gone up pretty much, other than some spikes in the early, like mid 90s, late 90s. And we've had some really good years, but you can see that horror probably since about 2015 has reclaimed its spot in terms of share of box office that it might have had in the past, and now it's it's record setting at 15, almost 15%, 14 and a half.
Yeah, I think it's probably the communal experience, and also just I think when times are good, there's a certain movie that's popular. When things are bad, people need a release of some kind, and horror lets them be afraid in a safe space. And comedies also tend to do well when things are don't look great. So if they would just keep making some good comedies, like Naked Gun's doing well now too, because people need to laugh. It's like I said, the other way of looking at it, like when things are bad, when things are good, people love Batman. When things are bad, like Superman goes up in popularity because people need to believe that someone can save them. It's sort of kind of same mentality where, right after 9/11, like the Adam Sandler movies were huge because people needed to laugh. Anger Management made millions. It was one of the bigger movies of the year. And now his golf movie Part 2 comes out. So, that's just what people need now. They need to laugh, but the comedies are going to streaming. Even though they're getting like billions of views, it's not in a theater.
And I agree with you. I think streaming has changed the game like immensely, because like you said, there's no need to like wait 6 months to get the physical copy of something, or 8 months. I remember like the from seeing it in a theater, because it used to be like not these 4-week runs. Like I'm shocked that Jurassic Park's already out of the theater. And I remember when I was wanting to watch Sinners, if I didn't catch it in 2 weeks, it was like out of IMAX.
Yeah, I had to run to see it. Yeah, I remember.
It's crazy. And I don't know if they're doing that. That's so you build up like this false sense of urgency.
Yeah. Just like with the toy scarcity.
Right. But like it kind of then is a self-defeating kind of strategy, because everybody's mad busy. And so you want to have these things, if you really are going to go see it in the theater, that's fine. But most people are like, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And I think we're tied to our phones as well now too. And so if you're going to get, because there's maybe too much entertainment, maybe I shouldn't say that, but there's so much entertainment that you're like, I can skip the movie because like I have Alien Earth that I got to catch up on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they left F1 in the theater. Like Apple has left it in there, and it keeps making money because it's experiential too, right? It's Absolutely. Like, you feel like you're there and you're like driving.
I went deaf in that fucking theater.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna fucking lie. I swear to God, I was like, I should have brought earplugs. This is fucking crazy.
Like, well, that's what F1 used to be like. F1 to go to see F1, you used to have to wear when they had the V12s.
I used to
have to wear them, man.
Yeah. I was at the Indy when it was being run here in Ontario Place. You know what I mean? The it's not F1. It's
no, that's IndyCar. That's IndyCar.
Yeah, I exactly. It's IndyCar. I was right next to the pits, and it is exactly what you experience. You experience exactly that. But the problem is I'm not freaking 18 years old anymore, man. I'm an old man, okay? I like to keep my hearing right now. So every time they got into one of the, I was literally doing this because I could easily hear them through the freaking fingers in my ears. Like it was that kind of experience, right? But it was a great film. I love that film. A lot of people are like, it's contrived. It's complete fantasy. A 40-year-old guy is not going to have the reflexes of freaking, like 25-year-old guy. It's impossible, right? There's no way. Like even a phenom. Like I don't care about craftiness and codgery or whatever. There's no way he was going to be able to keep up with those kids.
It's Brad Pitt, man. Brad Pitt could do anything. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise could do anything. They're going to be both like 70 and 80 years old, still doing F1 movies and Mission Impossible flicks.
The last movie stars. There they are.
Yeah, right. But like we were talking about and you're right about that. The last movie stars. You're looking at like worldwide and domestic, and look at Sinners at 12, right? Like the little movie that could really.
Yeah, no, the Sinners was incredible. And correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't have a very big budget. It was another one of those that that was
it's
it was
maybe
a milestone.
100.
What,
I don't know.
Sinners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me find out because I have
It
it
didn't
there.
have it 100 million, 200 million,
Yeah.
maybe. Like it wasn't a giant. It had some names.
I think
You know
it
what
was
I mean?
less than that.
Haley Atwell. No, not Haley Atwell. What's the girl's name? She was in Transformers.
Yeah. They still needed Michael B. Jordan money though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was
90
not. It was 90 million. 90 million
That's
USD.
nothing. That
Oh,
is
what's her
literally-
name?
That's under
Haley
100 million.
Stanfield. Haley
Oh
Stanfield.
my God, it's Haley Stanfield. It was one of those damn Haleys. But
Right.
but man, sub 100 million, incredible.
That's
It's freaking incredible. And what really killed you is that I think I have a funny feeling the studio really did not believe in this, much like they didn't believe in Star Wars, because they gave him creative rights, and
He owns it.
and he owns the whole thing outright. That's insane.
and I think it reverts back to him after a certain time. Like there's a certain window where it's shared, and then he gets it back, which is phenomenal.
Which is insane. That's absolutely, that literally is a Lucas type of move. You know what I mean? Where
Coogler is brilliant.
Yeah, just absolutely, and he's taking control of his own destiny now. He can do whatever he wants.
Which is fantastic. This is exactly what you want.
And it's not like this couldn't have a sequel. I mean, like, we're talking about vampires here. They'll go on forever. And it was a sleeper horror. You know what I mean? If you like, when they first started the advertising, I thought it was a gangster film. You know what I mean? Like there was very little premise on the idea that these were vampires when the first trailer started coming out. I thought it was just a sort of like Southern gangster type of film, right? And then eventually they started showing Haley with blood all over her face, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a horror, right?
Well, it's crazy. You're right, because when you first saw the first trailer, you weren't quite sure what you're watching.
No, I had no. I was like, that's kind of weird, right? Like it was very fascinating. It was interesting, right? And I was like, all right, I could watch that, right? But then they started ramping it up, and it really did give a great outlook.
Yeah, and so compare 90 million USD to 225 million USD.
That's crazy,
right? And you just don't have to go as far to make the money that you need. And I remember I was talking to an exec. This is years ago at New York Comic Con, and this is around the time 42 came out with Chadwick Boseman. And this was I was at a legendary party, and they were like, "We only need one. We just need one film, and then it funds everything else." Right? And the way that the studios are now, they need 10, because they're not getting that margin of a low budget film hitting way above its weight to give them that extra play money. Their margins are so thin once you factor in a 200 to 300 million budget and then promotion, which sometimes equals what the production budget is.
Yeah. They say that in order for a film to become a success, you have to double your investment, basically, on the return, right? That's what it's saying, and then you have to still make more in order to justify that it actually was a success, right? But this is actually why a lot of films are going to direct to stream now, right? Because it's just there's a lot more avenue there. But I think that we've lost, and I think it was Matt Damon has said this, we've lost the DVD money.
Yeah, Matt Damon did bring that up. It was
right?
a brilliant observation.
We've lost the DVD money. The DVD money is no longer a factor anymore. Because if you remember, films like The Spy Who Shagged Me, right? Austin Powers, not The Spy Who Shagged Me. If you remember Austin Powers, right? It was an absolute dismal failure at the box office. Absolute, by no measure should it have gotten a sequel, right? But at Blockbuster, at Jumbo Video, at all these rental places, it was flying off the shelves. People, you're what was it? A weekend, you're not doing anything, you're bored out of your mind. You go to the freaking rental store, you pick up you rent a copy for like $3, you watch it for the weekend, and you return it, right? And it was flying off the shelves, right? Showgirls to this day It was an absolute dismal failure at the box office, but it's still
That's a cult classic, my friend.
It is making money hand over fist. Even now, it is still freaking making money hand over fist. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So that money was vital to smaller productions, right? And that's actually what I think Matt Damon said that in an interview. He said the reason we were able to create these fringe films was because we could get the returns back on rental sales, on DVD sales, on collection sales, right? On VHS sales, right? That's gone now. That's no longer a viable market anymore.
No, for sure. And like, take a look at this one. This is from IndieWire. For Warner Brothers, original horror has scared up some of 2025's best box office bets. And it comes down to original IP, what we were talking about earlier. And being able to take a chance on original IP and not have to, absolutely blow up whatever budget you're able to get. And I think about this in the realm of comics, where it's like, you're right, Marco. The small film, the indie film, is basically a mini series, right?
Yeah,
a comic
it's slow motion. Yeah, that's
really slow motion.
Yeah, that's why I'm so happy when I see a 90-minute movie, because it's like it starts, it does its thing, and it ends. And I miss that, where they take something that could have been a 2-hour or 90-minute thing and stretch it to 10 hours. And you're like, I don't want that. I don't want to sit here and watch your side story, and every side character has to have, their little mini arc. And it is just, and just back to our point about the lack of variety, like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were 32 flavors of ice cream at the movie theaters, right? You could see
it's true
different things. And yes, they didn't always make everything, but a different kind of movie could lead the pack every year. And you were training the audience to say, there's creativity here, come and give us a chance. And over, I guess the big blockbuster started with Jaws, and then 50 years later, now we're at the point where they only make those giant movies. And let's say you wanted to see Life of Chuck, which was kind of a little bit more to Shawshank Redemption, a little bit, Stephen King short story made into, a kind of a tiny little movie, but, still about 5 million. And then small release, won the audience award at TIFF. And I remember seeing it at Varsity. And it was different, but, it doesn't mean it wasn't watchable. And I think by training the audience into thinking that this is what a movie is, it's only this giant loud thing. It's why for a long time HBO was leading the conversation.
Yeah,
people weren't talking about movies; they were talking about whatever the HBO show was. Right? They still kind of have that stranglehold on the conversation of just mass media.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because like I remember when I was a kid, your favorite TV stars would do anything to get off their TV show to get into movies. And now you've got some of the best actors out there who want to do television, like Meryl Streep's doing like prestige TV.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman is doing prestige TV, right? Like it's when Nicole Kidman, like it's crazy. And then like you look at Superman, look at that budget. What was that? Say it's 230. What I think it was 225. And they're at 500, but it's taken almost 6 weeks to get to that point. Weapons had a budget of 38 million. So they've almost tripled because they're almost at 100 million right now. They've almost tripled their budget in their opening week. Like that's what you're looking for. Right? So people are going to be looking for the next Weapons, the next Sinners. And I know they have franchises like Final Destination and all that kind of stuff that have done well, but you want those small films. You want those kind of small budget films where the economic imprint is small to make, but you're able to reap big economic value later on.
Yeah, and in horror, we're still a little bit spoiled. Like we just think about this month, you had Weapons, Together. I haven't seen that one yet, but James Franco's in it, and
that's his wife.
and Bring Her Back by the guys who did Talk to Me.
Yes.
Like there's at least 4 pretty creative horror films out, it seems, per month. The only problem we're facing is now, because not just because of Sinners and Weapons, but the way they market it, I guess they have to. It's like, if you don't see this movie, you've missed, your life will end. It's a generational change. How can every movie be generational change, right? So it's like fear of missing out, right? So there is a stream of horror marketing where the first week it comes out, they want you to feel like if you don't see this in the theater right now, you'll miss your chance to have that moment of seeing Poltergeist or The Exorcist, like that kind of thing that used to happen in movie theaters where everyone would be freaked out by the same thing, but there was no other media at the time, right? So it's kind of, we're so dispersed that you can't have that anymore. And Weapons and Sinners are kind of recreating that. But if you look at Sinners, sometimes the other thing is like you have a younger generation that can't see that Sinners is a little bit of devil in a blue dress with vampires, right? So there's all these layers that it's like not having read Shakespeare and thinking that something like, it's just, I think there's also a lack of like cinema history that for younger people, because they don't sit through movies. So that's helping, because they can go see something in a theater as if it's the newest thing ever that no one, it's like when someone discovers the Doors or the Beatles or something, they're the only people that have ever heard this music when they're Nirvana t-shirts
or whatever the latest hit sampled from. That was a song from the 70s. Actually sampling something from the 30s.
And that's what we're doing in movies. We're resampling. And what happened, years ago, someone created a close-up and a dolly shot, right? And then now like Spike Lee makes the double dolly, and that's his contribution to the language of cinema, right? And someone else does all these different things, and someone cuts every 12 seconds like Michael Bay. And so like I guess my joke is that we've become so postmodern that we're redundant a little bit. And how do you tell a story in that type of a mindset and still surprise people? And that's what can be done in horror. Somehow they still do it. But in other genres, they're not doing it. It's like the experimentation and the creativity seems to be pushed out of the other types of storytelling, maybe because they have too much money, because they can do anything, so they don't. Like they just do what's required.
So let me throw this out there to you as a filmmaker. Have films gotten weaker as the effects and computer technology has gotten better?
Well, if you look back at the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, where the guy with the tentacles, I don't know what his name was, and Lord of the Rings, they shot those effects in real locations and had actual actors, and then the actors were replaced or had makeup. And there's something more tangible about that now that everything is in these volume screens. Sometimes it doesn't look real at all. Like you look at the volumes in the Avatar TV show and some shots from the Lord of the Rings TV show, and you look at them and my eye sees that depth of field and cameras don't work that way. And you can definitely see like it looks like they're cut out and put on top. Like when Star Wars works much better because they have foreground elements and midground and background real sets, and then in the distance the screens are there. But a lot of these shows, they don't have budget, or they think they don't have to do that. So some like Avatar is my horrible example, where sometimes it works and other times like they're surrounded by fire and it looks like they're at Cable 10 like doing this low budget student production all of a sudden. And that's just my eye because I'm used to how cameras work. In Lord of the Rings too, one of the biggest TV shows of the last couple of years, there's shots in there that they pumped out where they're in the forest that it just looks, and Shogun as well, where there's something about having the real tangible foreground, medium, middle ground elements. Then you can trick people with that screen. But when it's just the screen, it just doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't work.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why Andor, for me, works so well, because the director, his name slips my mind at the moment, he wanted practical as much as possible, right? And you can see where they went in and did the computer-generated backgrounds and all that stuff, and they would be like in a hallway, and then almost digitally matte paint what they needed to change. And I feel like that's one of the things that, we're going back 25 years, maybe longer, with the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, just keeping it in that area, where I felt like in oh gosh, what was the first one? Phantom Menace, that everyone was floating.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
Right?
Especially because it was 3D at the time. It looked even worse. Everyone wanted to be 3D, and it just didn't fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And there's a film like Parasite that has hundreds of effects in it, but you can't tell. Or Mickey 17,
which I still have to see.
People didn't see it enough of it. Like, it was a very expensive science fiction, but I was blown away by just being taken into this new world.
Yeah,
because it was so tactile. Like Alien Romulus had that feel too, because a lot of it was on set.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And I saw just a couple seconds of the Superman behind the scenes where they actually went to the north, like they were actually in the Antarctic to do the scenes where he's lying in the snow. And it's just crazy. It's like, they set up the crane and things like so. I think, and you think of Mission Impossible and why it's so successful, because the audience knows he's really there. Like, not in every shot, but look how much money this movie made just because they want to see him jump across something else.
To the chagrin of his insurance company.
Yeah.
But I think that's really part of the whole thing, right? I think that companies need to start realizing that the audiences are changing, right? Because we keep hovering around the idea of like how people are consuming their content, right? Because these days, like, the younger people now, this is what they did. Like, they literally are look. This is the way they watch their films right now, right? This is the problem, right?
That's where they watch us.
Yeah,
they watch us. Like,
yeah.
I guarantee you, the majority of your audience watches you on us on mobile.
Absolutely. So the thing is that what's fascinating now is that you like you were saying earlier, Marco. They keep telling, if you don't see this in the theaters, you'll never see it again. Blah 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 blah. But maybe that's exactly the what they need to start doing. I think they need to have longer engagements. You know what I mean? I think that right now the practice is, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, and that's it. Like, they pull it after only about 2 months. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. I remember back in the day when we were kids, a movie would run 3 months, 4 months, sometimes even. I think Avatar, the first Avatar. Screw Avatar. I think Titanic had a record 12 months or something. It was crazy. It was in there, and it had an encore engagement just before its anniversary release, which they tacked on to its overall box office take. But I think that the theaters have to become creative again. I think that who was it back in the day where he had a whole bunch of theaters and he put joy buzzers at the bottom of the seats to get a scare out of can't remember his name anymore, but he was famous for doing that crap. But here's something, and Steve, if you want to share this, I went to a small cinema. It was a really small cinema, and what they were offering here blew my mind. Okay, have you guys ever been to the VIP theaters at Cineplex? I don't know if you guys have done that yet.
Yeah.
It's freaking expensive. It is overly expensive. But the draw for these cinemas is it's an adult experience. You don't have to worry about kids. You can drink. You can do this. You can do that. But one of the biggest draws is their luxury seating. Big leg room, all this stuff. I went to this small theater on Elgin Mills in Richmond Hill. Tiny theater. Really small. It felt like going to Scarborough Town Center back in the
old school,
the mid '90s. It was tiny, like really small. But I had the best time here watching Fantastic Four. Okay, so the theater really is a '90s experience because they haven't really upgraded it much. It really does have that '90s feel. Low ceilings, really small, right? I mean, even the signs at the front, they use a thing, letter signs. Yeah, you can see that right here. That these are actually
that's old school, man.
Somebody has to go up on a ladder, and they got to replace these. You know what I mean? And they better know how to spell because I can't spell for shit, right? So I mean, this is the type of experience. They have these standees and everything like that. That's really fun, right? It really felt like going to a very intimate theater back in the '90s. Yeah. Now. But the big draw that a lot of that someone who got us to go is that if you go to one of these VIP theaters, They tell, oh, you got these seats, you can order food and blah blah blah. Well, this is the crazy thing about this theater. They have full luxury in every theater. Every theater is here. They have full luxury reclining seats. The VIP theaters do not have reclining seats.
No,
you can lie down in these theaters, right? The feet go up, and they're all motorized. They're not like these pull tab things. You can see them right here. They have the little switch. Yeah, and like I said, the experience was absolutely different than any other cinema experience I've had. First of all, like I said, it really did feel like jumping back into the 90s. But at the same time, what really killed me while I was there was when I left the theater, because it was dark anyway, but this didn't necessarily happen where I was. But when I left the theater, all I saw were a bunch of these young kids, you know what I mean, like in their tweens to early 20s, and all of them had blankets. They had brought freaking blankets to the theater. They were wearing fuzzy slippers.
Nice.
They were as comfortable.
It's like pajama day at school.
It was literally a pajama day. It was not. It was like a sleepover. And I was like, what am I looking at here? And I started to realize really quickly what I'm looking at here. Let me see. Actually, there's two. All right, those two don't have their snuggies. But what I was looking at here was a different way to experience the theater. Okay, a different way that people can do that. And what happened was they made it as comfortable as possible for anybody to basically spend 2.5 hours, or a maximum of 2.5 hours in a theater, right? And the other thing that really got me, this is what kills me. The ticket prices were absolutely incredible. This is Wednesday ticket prices right here, guys. Like $12.99 each.
So wait. Is this 1995? What's going on?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I was like, wait a second. How much?
Yeah.
Hold on.
They make the money on the popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait. Now here's the other thing. So you would think that, right? So $12.99 each for the general admission, $10 for the children. That's like 90s prices. Guess what? I was like, all right, they're gonna hose us on freaking. They have all the latest films. I mean, you can see that here, right? I mean, there's weapons right there, right? But then I said, okay, where's the shoe gonna drop? Where am I gonna spend? Look, F1 right there, right? Where am I?
Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is still in that.
Yeah,
theater.
Mission Impossible is still at this theater. Now that doesn't surprise me. They're a small theater. They probably want to get the most out of their purchase, right? Because they bought the film, right?
Absolutely.
But I was like, okay, where's the shoe going to drop? Like, how much am I going to pay for this fucking popcorn? Because I knew that was coming. I went to the concession stand. I'm like, all right, I don't know if it's expensive. I'm not gonna do it. If it's cheap, I guess I'll get it. So, how much do you guys remember? Like last time you went to the theater, how much did you pay for like a large popcorn and 2 drinks? What
Marco, this one's on you because I don't.
$6,000. No, like a small drink and a medium popcorn.
Sure,
like $20 at least.
$20. Okay, $20. I go with the group. I go with my brother. I go with my friends. So on average, for like a large popcorn, two medium drinks, and a candy, on average, it's like $45, $50, right? Absolute insanity. We went to this place, and I'm expecting to get hosed. So you said a medium popcorn and a medium drink or a small drink, right? Marco, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Okay. I walk up to the counter, and my jaw dropped. My jaw absolutely dropped. I was like, "Hey," and I asked the person, I'm like, "Excuse me, is that the right price?" And she's like, "Which one?" I'm like, the medium combo there, like a large popcorn and 2 drinks." And the young lady said, "Oh, yeah, that's $24.99." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "You're kidding." She's like, "No, and you get a candy." I'm like, "Wait, you get a candy too?" I'm like, "Yes, you get a candy." I'm like, "So hold on, you're telling me you get a large popcorn, you get 2 medium drinks, and you get a choice of candies, which was the same size as Cineplex for $24.99. I was like, I am in the night. I've taken a fucking time warp and gone back to the 90s. Yeah. This is freaking sane.
Yeah, they do what they have to just survive. They have to do these kinds of things. The rep theaters in Toronto do the same kind of things, like the Review and the Paradise. I went to see Badlands, a Terrence Malick film, a couple weeks ago. Normally, I can never get to it, and it's a community-based thing where that's how they survive, by creating the community, either with very comfy seats and reasonable prices for younger people, or with movies you can't see. Or like the funniest thing for me, because we're all a little older here, is people like they're talking. There's a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds here who had never seen a Terrence Malick movie. I've never seen it. So you're like, and that's just the reality of it, because how could they've ever seen it in a theater other than in these rep theaters? So they create events. Not just, with those movies you think they would, but with, different type of filmmakers, and they have themes and people get dressed up. It's not the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but every movie can be created. They make an event out of it. And it's just like, social media, they build a community to survive.
Yeah. But and that's, I think you're right on the nose there. But what I really found out was that there were a lot of young people in this theater.
Yeah.
Right. There were, like, obviously it's a Marvel film. Yeah. The kids are there. Everything's there. But when we got to our seats, here's another example of this. When we got to our seats, the mom was in her seats, and her son, and we're like, oh, sorry, I think you're one over. So they started moving over. She had to grab her blanket. She had to grab his blanket, and I tripped over his shoes because he actually removed his shoes. Right? I actually tripped over them. I'm like, and I had to kick them over to him because I was like, it's dark. I couldn't see anything. They couldn't see anything, and I was like, okay, this place is your home. Basically, that's what they've made it, and I'm wondering if that actually is going to be something eventually that they're going to do. But what really got me was definitely the concessions prices. Like, it's obvious to me because it's crazy. What is popcorn? 3 cents to the pound? It's absolutely nuts. I mean, like, quite literally,
it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg.
It should not cost even $10 for that bucket of popcorn, right? But this theater's making it work, and they're making it work at honestly, in comparatively reasonable prices.
Yeah.
I mean, $25 taxes in for a large popcorn, 2 drinks, and a candy. You're not going to find that anywhere in a Cineplex Odeon. Never in a million. Even in the smaller theaters, you're not going to find that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need to get, because for them, they're happy looking at these. They don't need the big screen. As a matter of fact, I think that it makes them uncomfortable, right?
Yeah,
Having to be with
crowds.
Yeah. Right. But you gotta reintegrate people into a society, because unfortunately the pandemic really did a number on all of us, right? People just got used to not communicating with people. Right? People just got used to not being around people. People got used to saying, "Oh, don't come near me. I don't want you breathing on me because you might give me something." Like, that is that really killed us for, what was it, 2 years, 3 years?
2 years, yeah, about
maybe
that,
longer before people are actually kind of even comfortable.
Yeah, and there's like a generation that's kind of lost in the middle where like they never got the skills. And now we can blame the phones, but it's a different generation. It's also, we talk about why movies aren't making the money they used to. People can't afford it. Like, it's you can pick some, like, if you have a family and there's 4 of you, how many times can you go to the movie? Right? That's the reality of it, right? I remember begging my parents to go. We never went to the movies when we were younger. I like, and lucky, like, movies like the Star Wars movies and E.T. were in the theaters for 3 years. So you begged long enough so you could go. But now they just go right to the screen at home, right? So who's going to wait for it? And that's the reality of why also, like, you have a lot of people that love Fantastic Four and Superman are seeing it multiple times. But that doesn't make up for the people who literally, like, we're spoiled here. We can talk about all the movies we go to see. It's the reality of it. People can't afford it. That's the times that we live in, right? So I think that they have to look at their pricing as well.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the problem with these big budget films that are expected to make their money back, in theater. The problem is nobody's really going to theaters anymore, so they have to come up with creative ways to do that. And I think if you're a comic book fan, you want the comic book experience. Whenever I go to Comic-Con, it's just like, it has to be in the face. Theaters have to hire cosplayers. They have to hire cosplayers. They got to do the whole shebang. They got to have people outside. They got to be in costume. They got to be meeting and greeting.
At least for opening night and certain showings.
Sure.
Right.
Like special engagements, whatever. Yeah. Right. But what you need to go that extra mile. But there's no sense of urgency yet. but it's going to come to that.
Oh, it's
right?
going to be overnight when they shut down. It's going to, what do you mean the theaters are gone? People are going to be surprised, but it's going to be it's like a .com bubble just waiting.
It's like Toys R Us. Toys R Us is slowly disappearing. People don't realize it, but like in the United States, it happened like that overnight. But why? Because they were stupid, right? They sold they were sold to a company that only wanted to use them for their
branding,
for their credit. No, for their credit.
They
use them for their credit, and they just maxed out their credit, and they went into bankruptcy. Right?
And that doesn't work in any situation. Like whether you're trying to get married and get better credit, like that doesn't work anyway.
No, but that's the whole point, right? They knew going in that they were going to freaking bankrupt Toys R Us, which was crazy. Toys R Us had incredible credit, right? And it's happening here in Canada now, right? Canada is slowly losing Toys R Us, and it's a shame, right? It's a damn shame. And it's going to happen with all these theaters. Like look at AMC. AMC, and actually, if you actually follow the trajectory of what happened with that whole scenario, Famous Players used to be the big boy in town, right? They were the biggest name in Canada. Right? They feared AMC coming into Canada so much that they bought and invested in massive luxury theaters. And they did it all on credit. And unfortunately, they couldn't pay that credit back. Here comes Cineplex Odeon and their bankruptcy idea. They swooped in. They bought all their theaters at a fraction of the cost. And they have all brand new theaters. And now they're the only name in town. AMC basically came in, couldn't do anything, and freaking left.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, the AMCs are now usually a place to go work out now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They did buy big footprints, but they were not, they didn't last.
Yeah, Planet Fitness or something like that.
Yeah.
LA Fitness, like a whole bunch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to get Mega J's on some of these numbers.
Sure. Let's see these grails. Are they grails or are they just regular toys?
I'm not going to say anything. I want you to take a look at them and then we could see.
All right, let's have a look.
All right. So the most expensive vintage toys of all time.
I'll tell you if I knew these.
Okay. So the table of contents are. I'm going to give you I'm going to give them to you, and then you get to see the price. So number 1, Barbie by Stefano Canturi, 2010.
Yeah.
A 1963 GI Joe.
Okay.
1979 rocket firing Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise at all.
A Steve Louis Vuitton bear, 2000. Pip and Co. Mickey Mouse motorcycle, 1930, which would make sense.
Yep.
1978 Star Wars Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi.
Okay, gotcha.
Darth Vader from 1978.
Wow. How many Star Wars we got on there?
I think they take 6 of the top 10.
Holy shit.
Droids, what is that?
Vilix,
1988. Luke Skywalker from 1978. And then Transformers Autobot Air Guardian Jetfire from 85. Does that ring a bell?
Wow, Jetfire made the list. That's impressive.
All right, so take a look at some of these. So nostalgia is part of the vintage toys, part of the appeal of vintage toys, and every generation has their own. The late 70s introduced us to Star Wars action figures. Transformers began their meteoric rise. In the 80s, Furby spoke to us in the 90s. Beyond nostalgia, it's rarity, authenticity, and condition that make for the most expensive vintage toys ever sold.
Sure.
Take a look below. And this is on public, by the way, to give them their props.
Yeah.
So this one was 302,500 Christie's.
So the problem is that vintage, the term vintage now is actually coming around, right? Because they're considering the PlayStation 1 is vintage now. You know what I mean? Like that scares the crap out of me.
I guess for some.
That scares the crap out of me. People are saying that what's it called? The Xbox is retro. You know what I mean? The original Xbox. This is like, wow, holy crap, right?
Okay.
Okay. So Barbie vs. So this is one of those signature series Barbies, right?
Yes.
So and it's from 2010.
And by a big time designer, because
that's the other
thing.
And I imagine the circulation of this can't be more than a couple thousand. I can't imagine that.
Probably not.
Crazy.
So it says here, non-bedazzled versions of the doll fetched far less, but still top expensive lists. As a 1965 Barbie in Midnight Red is going for $17,000 in 26.
Yep.
And $27,000 in 2006. So that's a ways away. So G.I. Joe 1963 $200,000. I could see
Yeah.
that.
Okay, that is a so G.I. Joe obviously termed actually coined the phrase action figure. It's the first time
Yes. Yeah.
any toy which was marketed towards boys, dolls, right? Because that's what they were the size of Barbies. So that was the first time it was ever coined the phrase action figure. So yes, a mint condition 1963 G.I. Joe. I can completely see that. And which one is this? Because there were many. This is Salty the Sailor.
Salty
right?
the
Salty
Sailor.
the Sailor.
Or it might have been.
Yeah.
Who's Levine?
It doesn't really say.
Donald Levine. Oh, that's the Hasbro executive. My bad.
Yes, the Hasbro executive who created the line.
Yeah. So you ready for Boba Fett?
Boba Fett,
185,000.
that's like a no-brainer. This is the legendary
Yes.
figure which was pulled from shelves
Yes.
because of a choking hazard risk.
Yes.
Right? It's too bad. Could you right-click on that, see if you can reload the image? Because that's unfortunate. If you're on a Mac, it's Control-click.
Cancel. Control-click.
Yeah, Control-click. See if you can you just gotta on that icon there that's broken.
Let me see if I'll do it on here.
Yeah, right there. So Control-click on it, and it should bring up a contextual menu. So hold Control and click it. No,
I'm not getting it.
No. Okay. Anyway, it's fine. People know what Boba Fett looks like, but yeah, this was. I think it was it was pulled from the shelves. So basically, if you were able to hold on to one, then you were a very, very lucky young boy, because that thing is insane.
So this Louis Vuitton bear is outside of my realm.
Yeah, but anything connected with Louis Vuitton,
yes.
And again, it was probably made in very limited quantities. It was in 2000, right? Like again, I'm so old, right? I think that when I think of vintage, I'm thinking like the
60s and
like
80s, and 70s.
Yeah, 70s is where I'm kind of like putting the mark, right? Even like I'll consider the original NES right now as retro for me, right? But that's because I lived in those ages, right?
Yeah, Atari 2600 for
yes, exactly.
Those of us in a certain vintage.
A certain vintage.
This Mickey Mouse one.
Yeah,
110,000. That makes sense.
Wow. Yeah, this was back in this was in the 1930s when during the war, the approaching war and everything like that, materials were scarce, right? So they started making toys out of tin.
So, question: would this be Steamboat Mickey, or is this post that?
This is around the time of Steamboat Mickey, but I think it's even after. It's got to be either post that or just after, right? Just after, right?
Obi-Wan. We're not getting into the Star Wars stuff. Let me see if I refresh this.
Yeah, hit a refresh. Maybe something will come in. But it's strange that it's not coming up.
Yeah, no. So this one is it's the double telescoping lightsaber.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Understood. Yeah. So it came out twice. Like it wasn't just a single rod. It was a double rod.
Yeah, it was a double rod.
And that's what
one within another, kind of.
Yeah, and that's what made it so rare, because A, many of them broke, and B, they probably did a recall on many of them to actually release them as a single rod.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't those lightsabers also have like this really tiny little part at the end, which is almost like it was the lightsaber, and then there was like a little tiny part as well too.
No, but that's what they're talking about. That is the double telescope. Because what happens is it would
get caught, right?
Yeah, it was embedded inside the wrist. You would.
It had that lever.
Move it, right, and it would just come out from the front. But then there was another one which you could grab and out.
That's what I remember. Right,
and that one would break almost immediately, or kids would just pull it out entirely. So that's why they had a recall. That's why they had a recall on it.
I got to go check my old Star Wars figures now.
Oh yeah, if you find one of those intact, you're golden.
Yeah, and then the same one, 78. This one went for $64,000.
Yeah, I imagine that's mint on card.
Marco, do you have any of these at home or no?
No, I think I lost a few of them, but I think I have the Jetfire. I think I gave it to my nephew. You have the Jetfire
in box?
Not in box. I gave it to my nephew, so it's too late now.
You lost quite a bit of value there. But if you have the Macross stickers on it instead of the Transformers stickers, then you still have some pretty good value right there.
All right, I'm gonna have to go and visit.
Not bad. And then the Star Wars droids, Velix, 1988,
Vlix,
5K.
Vlix is the I believe if he's the he's the bodyguard of the gangster's son, and
got it.
Yeah, and Tiggy, he's I think he was made in very low quantities because this was like the line wasn't doing very well because the Droids cartoon was only watched by so many people, right?
I know. I didn't watch it. I was
I watched it as a kid. I watched it. I enjoyed it immensely. So yeah, this so basically it pretty much was gone to obscurity. Really, that's why Flix is so and probably mint on card, I would imagine as well.
So here's something interesting that I didn't notice. So when Droids aired in Brazil in 1988, Glasslight cranked out Vlix. Did I get that right this time? Figures until Lucasfilm, which hadn't known that Kenner sold the molds, made them cease and desist. I did not know that.
Yep. Yep. Which is why these are so sought after, because they're actually contraband, right?
Got it.
Yeah. Again, there's got to be a good story behind it too.
Got it.
Which is awesome.
1978 Skywalker. I'm not sure why this one would be.
Probably because it is it's probably because it was the very first one, the very first Luke Skywalker. But it probably says it down there. What does it say?
Oh, it was included in the playset. And the reason why it's so thing is because he was the most was the biggest one in production. So there were more of him than any other toy.
That's right, and it is the double telescoping.
Double telescoping. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I had one of those. And then Jetfire.
Yep.
For $25,000. Does that sound right to you?
That is obscenely overpriced, in my opinion. but like if you find a mint condition version graded, these days anything's possible. But yes. And it has a history behind it, which is why it probably is. Number one, it's one of the most articulated Transformers of the time. It was freaking amazing. But it was actually in and of itself was actually something which was part of a massive controversy. Harmony Gold at the time was not allowing any companies to do anything related to Macross or Robotech, as we know it now. Mm-hmm. This one made it through the cracks. It actually was licensed prior to the deal with Harmony Gold. And Harmony Gold just, they tried to block the sale of these, but could not because it was before their signing, but they tried tooth and nail to try and keep this out of stores. And as I said earlier, a few of these made them out with the Macross logos on the wings. So any of those, I think it might actually say it there, but any of those that made it out are considered very rare. So yeah, because of the controversy surrounding this and the legality of Macross versus Transformers, yeah, it was a huge debacle at the time.
Interesting. And then this 1969 honorable mention, Pink VW Beach Bomb for $150,000.
So Hot Wheels in general are just gold mines if you're talking about actual value. There are guys do not mess with Hot Wheels collectors. They are a different breed, man. They will bite your hand off if you actually get into the wrong pile. Like it's crazy. I remember they're there at the crack of dawn. I remember going to a Walmart, and I was looking around. There was a pallet of toys that was just dropped. Dude saw the next shipment of Hot Wheels in the pallet. He cut the freaking shrink wrap, grabbed it. It was in the middle of the pile. He pulled it out. The whole stock started falling.
Damn.
And he ran to the back and started opening up his prize. It was crazy. But when you think about the rate of return of these things, an in-store Hot Wheels, back around the pandemic, it was what, $1.99, like $1.50,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were chase cars at the time which were $100. So that's $1,000 in profit right there. You spend $1 and you resell that for $1,000. Absolutely pure incentive. So it was, and if you look on any you just type in Hot Wheels collectors on YouTube, you'll see these guys. They talk all about the culture around Hot Wheels collection right now. It's crazy. They're like, oh, the rubber wheels are the important ones because the commons have plastic wheels, and you can tell because if you tilt it a little bit, you can see the symbol, which is gold or green or silver. I'm like, oh my god, I thought I was a crazy collector. These guys are on a whole another level. These guys are on a whole nother level.
Right. And the last thing I want to share with you guys, and I'd like your your 2 cents on this is the McFarlane Gold Label Roundup. And so some of these dropped today, apparently.
Yep.
So it says here the McFarlane Gold Label Roundup, Mr. Bones, Obsidian, and the Batmobile and the Batman Batmobile.
Yep.
So they dropped teasers for upcoming DC Multiverse Gold Label items set to drop this week. So this came out on the 12th, and their dates are wrong because it says that it will drop Wednesday the 14th, while today's the 13th. Either way, let's take a look at some of these. You tell me what you think.
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, like Mr. Bones is obviously a take on Captain Harlock.
Yeah,
he is literally Captain Harlock with a bone with Skeletor's face. Yes. I mean, there's no getting around that. If you put up Captain Harlock right next to this guy, you're like, there's copyright infringement in there somewhere. That is absolutely like spot on. But he looks great. You know what I mean? I mean, the only thing missing is the Jolly Rogers. Like he is the head on the Jolly Roger, right?
Pretty much.
You can see that, right? Like that's how they designed it. But this is a stolen character. Like I truly believe that. But yeah, well, no wonder he's a gold label. Like I'm pretty sure there was some litigation on this one somewhere along the line. So he looks great though. Like if you look at you look at the card, the collectible card versus the figure, he looks amazing.
Yeah,
great
yeah. No, imposing. I love the cape. And you get a lithograph with it too, which is awesome.
Yep.
And then we have Obsidian. Looks pretty
these
cool.
are some deep cuts. These are
yes.
really deep cuts. These are these are great characters. But this is what happens. So famously, this is the McFarlane is losing the DC license to Mattel, right?
Yeah.
So they are effectively throwing everything at the kitchen sink right now. They will basically produce anything at this point. They are producing everything that fans actually want. It's not Batman. It's not Batman, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman. It's not the Fantastic Five. You know what I mean? It's not.
Got it.
It's not them. They're actually going for anyone who they can at this point.
And then this is the Batmobile. So
the thing about 6-inch scale vehicles, traditionally they're expensive as hell. The Snowcat has that for G.I. Joe right now is $225 right now, and it's having a hard time. McFarlane releases vehicles at sub $100 pricing, oftentimes, unless they include a figure. So this gold label, I imagine it comes with somebody. If it doesn't, then this one will probably be the only release that they have, because the Flash Batmobile was released as a regular edition. The 89 Batmobile was released as a gold label, and this one, it seems to, like, if they've only announced this as a gold label, does it say it includes a figure? Because right now
it doesn't look like it. Let me go back to the article, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Any pricing information at all?
No, not on this stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see that one going for about like $80, which is a great price for a 6-inch scale vehicle. The only issue, if there is any, with McFarlane vehicles is that they are thin on accessories and features. That's the only thing. Like the doors open and that's pretty much it, right? They don't have fire rockets or anything like that. No real additional accessories. But the sculpt is always good, right? They photograph well, right? And that's the big thing about these. It's the collector chase model. It really is. Like these are completely limited edition. They're never going to come out again, right? Especially now, knowing that they're losing the license. This is the only time to get these guys. Right. So, yeah, you want a Captain Harlock figure in 6-inch scale, you got to get this guy.
Two Vazone says, "I respect McFarlane, but I don't get this. I also do not own an action figure company." There you go. Well, I guess if you've got molds hanging around, right? Try to make what you can.
Yeah, those bodies are not different, are not so different from multiple other figures in the line, and they can make the most out of them.
Yeah, for sure. And there are still a lot of Batmans,
and still many to come, Adrian. Still many to come.
Yeah, for sure. So Pasquale, Marco Veltri, tell us about your book.
Okay.
Because I ran into you at
the Toronto Comic-Con, I think.
Is it Toronto Comic-Con?
Yeah, you were going around the tables, being doing the work.
Yeah, I think I was semi-hustling at that point.
Yeah.
And I ran across your book, and I really enjoyed it. I picked it up, So tell us about your create your own graphic novel. Is it a graphic novel, correct?
It's a graphic novel. Over time we had 5 issues that we were building towards the graphic novel, and now you can buy it collected. It's called Painting My Life. It's about a painter whose paintings come to life. It's pretty, it's that same idea everyone has. What if my art came to life? So it's just, for me, it was about how your art can save your life or how it can redirect your life. So in terms of the story, it's a painter who has a husband who's dying of cancer and doesn't want to deal with reality, and she falls into the fantasy world. And anytime she faces a problem, she has to paint a solution. And then whatever she paints usually causes another problem. So she paints, she paints gargoyles to help fight witches, and then the gargoyles chase her around. And she gets trapped into a prison. She has to paint her way out. So it's just the concept, for me was, how do you use your art to change your life? And at that time, I wasn't writing enough. I wasn't making enough stuff. It took too long to try to finish anything bigger. So we started, making a page at a time when we could, broke it down into the 5 pieces that make up the 144 pages of this arc. And it's just one of those things where you can kind of encapsulate, a part of your life a little bit. You kind of see us get better at making comics as you go through the issue. Once we see the difference between 1 and 5, it's probably pretty dramatic in terms of how we learned as we went. And for me, it was more of, just taking a story all the way from, not just the beginning and the end, but the character development part of it. And it was also where we started working with an artist and a colorist, Jorge, in Mexico, and a bunch. So there was like 6 people on the book, and building out the story as you went through it. So Painting My Life has it's one of those big stories that's too ambitious, and I could do another 3 graphics with it. But I think I kind of, we're going towards a horror kind of story called The Sparrows right now. And a second book, and building out kind of a couple different dream worlds as we go.
Cool.
Incredible.
And so you're a publisher as well too, because I see something here from Scott Snyder.
I'm part of the Discord group for Scott Snyder's Substack. So about 4 or 5 years now, and what they did in the first couple of years is they started within the 1,000 people that are all learning from Scott Snyder on his Substack, which is like $7 a month. And you can go to Scott Snyder's YouTube and just watch some of them for free. It's so different when you learn about storytelling from somebody who does it. Like so many books you can get, or people that are talking to you, like they talk about the arc and the hero myth, and it's so different when you have someone talking. No, the arc and the beat sheet is actually the emotional arc of the character. It's not what happens. It's how the character's emotional arc moves and how they respond to stuff. And it's like your mind explodes by someone taking you out of the forest. So it's one of those things where all you need is someone to show you the right way to go. And with Scott Snyder's class, just some of the videos early on were just pushing me away from, the beat towards the emotional arc kind of stuff. And these are Tales of the Cloakroom is a collection of short stories from all the students. So there's a volume 1, volume 2, and I think there's also a volume 3 and 4 right now. But each year the students get together and do that. And it's a great learning experience, because everyone's at different levels. But if anyone is interested in making comics, I would recommend go and checking out Scott Snyder's YouTube page and just watch some of the free videos there. You get a sense of, and it's also community based too. Like after 4 or 5 years, like you have sub discords where people start. It's like at this point I'm like, so many discords, but you have different communities that you always, sometimes even at conventions where it seems like there's so many people there, the first couple of years you can feel lost, right? Like as you're at the table, you don't know if you can leave your table, you don't know what you're supposed to do. But yeah, so we're just so lucky to have learned how to walk in comics with this first graphic novel, and now moving forward, we just know that the only goal is to make the next one better, right? That's the only way forward. So that's, I think next Toronto Comic Con in March, we should hopefully have some new pages for a new book, and go from there. But, yeah,
that's great. And Marco, we got a question from Tiffany who's asking this under Tuvaz Zone. I would enjoy reading this. Where do I buy it? And she says, Mega J, it's Tiffany here, by the way.
You can go right to pmlcomic.com, which is the site that he's showing. You can buy it off the webpage. You can also, I think there's still some PDFs on Amazon from when Comixology ate it up, like you used to have it all in Comixology.
Yeah.
But the main source is that webpage right now, where you can choose to buy the printed version or the digital.
That's awesome. That's great. And a question: when you're going through the Substack and learning from Scott Snyder, considering how different but also how similar movies are to comic books, has that changed how you tell stories when you go in behind the camera as well too?
A little bit. Like I remember, like I go back to the Ty Templeton class because it's like a lot of it was just Ty Templeton telling stories, but like it's just like that one thing about the gutter, or because I was, I think 12 years ago, much more into like the cinematography, video, image based storytelling. But how he described things, and Scott Snyder does it too, it changes. Like it's so different. Like I guess I'm spoiled to be able to dabble my feet in both, but I would almost say opposite art forms a little bit, where one is passive, one is like you gauge them and draw them in. But I've been always so visual, and it's just, for me, just the use of color and design. Like I've always started like I started as a painter, a failed painter. So I always wanted to make a painting that moved, and then you got Painting My Life sort of comes from that. So for me, it's how does the image tell a story? And that's, how can you tell a story with just images and then you add the words? So film and comics, again, are complete opposites and different skills. And it's so scary how different they are. But I think the storyboarding that I've done on my recent project that we did called The Doorway was a little bit more like, there's shots that I did that are spot on matches. I think on social media, I posted some stuff about like storyboard matches the shot. It was like an exact frame of the shot. And like, maybe it'll take me an hour to find that. But the way that your mind just develops in different ways, because you are always thinking visually, and it kind of like it's definitely a building block. And I just, it's like this is going to be so cheesy. You're just learning, and you're a tree that's growing and you don't see that you've grown. But I think telling stories in a different platform really helped me appreciate the other one, and vice versa.
Makes sense.
Where you can really just see the limitations or the lack of limitations in one or the other, because you know what it takes to make a comic versus a film. And it's it's just I guess for me, if I think I just open up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to share my screen, but I'll just show some screenshots of some stuff really quick, if I can get my computer to do that magic that you all managed to do. But just the color control and usage that you can have in comics, and the way that especially our colorist was so vivid, it was something that I tried to carry with me. So if I can get a picture open, and then let's see if I can share a screen. Let's look for the button. Here's.
Well, I think he may have. He Thanos snapped himself out. Well, hopefully he'll join back in, because I'd love to see what he was doing. But,
yeah. He pressed exit instead of share. But here he is. See?
Welcome back.
I'm back. See, obviously
you did the Thanos snap.
The Thanos snap. See, instead of hitting the screen, I saw the big red button, and I was like, "Wait a minute, that's what I should be doing."
Oh, it's all good. But one thing that you were mentioning, comics doesn't have, and we saw this with what Jay showed us with the Flipboard clip, is that you can't rely on sound design in a comic book.
Yeah.
Right. But when you do it like what Jay did with that little clip there, and you add sound and you have the voice actors and all that kind of stuff, it ups the storytelling, the narrative punch that a comic can deliver. You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, and we did that with a few of the, something very much shorter, like not as ambitious as what you made. It was like sort of, we made a mini trailer for each issue where it was like 10, 20 seconds of, and this is just an example of a still from some of the new stuff we're making where you just jump ahead through it. You should slow down. But essentially just the idea of concept and design, it's one builds on the other 100%. And I'll just stop at this one here. So even the ideas that you have become grow into something else because you're just bleeding from one medium to the other. And it's just, it kind of pushes you because you're thinking, okay, I could do that in a comic, but how do I do it in film practically?
Right.
So you just push yourself to find better locations, better use of colors, better design, better concept. And how is every shot, I always think of every shot in a film as a moving photograph or a visual metaphor that tells the story without the audio.
Yes.
And then you build that in and just enhance it. There's one moment in comics and film that's very similar, where when something's finished. In comics, it's when you finally get that print in your hands. And in filmmaking, it's where that one moment where you finally watch the movie with all the sound done, the first time you actually see the sound mix. And I can't explain it. It's like this moment. It's this moment of like, how did we do this? It's a group of people worked together. And one of the funniest, ridiculous things that comes from the 60s, the auteur theory, where, the director does everything. It's like the idea that like just the writer makes the comic is so delusional. It's a group of people coming together, lifting each other up in the story, and it becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And that one moment is what you build for, whether it's a comic or a film, where you watch it for the first time in a space mixing the sound, which you might be able to do soon. And
totally. I totally
for the
get
first time you see it done. I can't even describe what it's like.
Because a lot of times when you're shooting, you might be shooting out of order, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you're taking, you're doing coverage, right? And so you're basically piecing together this story based on a schedule that you've got to get everything you need. But you're so right. And it almost doesn't matter what you're doing. It's an absolute fallacy that it's a singular person that produces anything, whether it's a comic book, a movie, or as Jay knows, making an action figure.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't even imagine. Like that's so, like some of the figures, like I guess I have like some of the newer McLaren stuff, like the Cyber Superman stuff and a couple other ones. And I haven't seen them in for so long. And then you get it and you think it's going to be like this, but instead of 7, they're 8 inches, and the detail and the paint, it's crazy what they do now. Like I blew my kind of brain exploded when I looked at them. It's the same kind of idea. It's just, how do they do this? Yeah, and I think that's what, you forget about it because it takes so long to make something. But that moment where you're holding that first print of the graphic novel in your hands or watch that, but you never want to see the movie again afterwards, right? That's the difference. Where I think you can look at the comic again or you can look at the toy, but there's something about the process of like 2.5 years or 3 years of making a film where it's like, when it's done, it's like, you're not going to stay on the screen and you're going to walk out and have a coffee and come back. But so it's one of those things where it's like 10 people or 100 people come together and they create a miracle. And every film or comic, no matter how bad or good it is a miracle.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's sometimes when you see people criticizing other people, like they don't understand the hours that go in. And anybody that makes any piece of art to just be applauded, because there's so many things trying to stop you. And especially as you get older, like it's so easy to be an artist in your 20s. Like when I go to events, I want to talk to the older people. How are you still doing this? How did you manage? Because so many things happen in your life that try to stop you. And you kind of keep that childhood belief in what you do, which is so hard to keep. And it's one of those things that it's just magical when you're finished something. We see someone else's work and you see them improve, and you know that you're learning just by seeing what they do, whether you're at a Comic Con or a film festival or whatever, and you see someone's work improving and you know how much time they spent in it. And it just lifts you up to see that they haven't given up And that's one of the first things I'd say to anybody when they, they're going through tough times, or we console each other. I just but I just don't give up, because I'll find you and I'll hurt you. Don't give up, because that's, it just takes so much effort and so much time. And I think so much, and of course I'm going to throw in so much self-delusion to keep going, that you're just so happy when you see it in somebody else.
For sure. And Jay, what was it like? I know we've spoken about this before, but what was it like when you saw Flipper in your hands for the first time?
Well, it's funny how Pascal sort of goes through his trials and tribulations. So it's fascinating because now we're pretty much running the gambit now, right? Where I've done an action figure. I previously, just like you, Steve, I made 2 different types of comics, right? And now I'm on the third, I guess, variation on making comics. And each journey is different, right? So comics of course is a collaborative effort, as everyone says. Anybody who thinks that a comic book can be made by one person, they can be. There are instances where you do have a phenom out there who's maybe you have a Mobius or something, who's literally writing and drawing and I guess not publishing. You got to go to a publisher to get that stuff done, but
lettering it or whatever. It's very rare. You get
it is rare. It is incredibly rare. It's like you're not going to get a J.R.R. Tolkien who basically has an entire galaxy in his mind. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But even he needed a publisher to get it out to the world, right? But having said that, dealing with artists, dealing with writers, because you could be the creator, but you don't know how. But you're not a very good writer. Like your narrative doesn't fit. Because putting pen to paper, right? That's what we're finding out. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes even though you're a great creator, sometimes your narrative doesn't work. A really good point of that is like I always point to episode 2 of Star Wars, because George Lucas, whatever he had in his head, he also put it to film, and it wasn't exactly what everyone expected, right? Whereas if you think about how he did Return of the Empire Strikes Back, he understood at that point. It's like, I need someone to rewrite this for me and actually put it on the film, and it was great because he actually had another director come in and really do the vision that both of them had, right? And that's exactly the kind of journey that we experience with comics too, right? But with Flipboard was an entirely different subset of skill sets that you need to have. Luckily, I was a project manager, on multiple. I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I know what it's like to deal with suppliers, and I know it's like to deal with project managers. So that really helped us in this process. But you have the original creator, Hatter, who it works in Hollywood. He's actually a writer in Hollywood, so he knows what it's like to deal with personalities. So there's that level of negotiation skill because we were dealing with our artist who is no longer with us, Ryan Endersby, who's incredible. But he was just a new, designer trying to break into toys at the time. And the crash course he had to take through the actual production artist and the project manager over at Ramen Toy, it nearly broke him. And it really disillusioned him in the idea of what it was to make toys, because you as Marco alluded to, you have like when you're young, you have this bright, shiny, idea of what it is to be a toy maker, the glamour, the glitz, the idea, the proud little action figure you hold in your hands at the end of the process. But getting to that stage, that's where you have the blood, the sweat, the tears, the idea that, oh, you know what? You don't understand what it's like to make the little cogs that actually connect the pieces together to have, the movability. You don't understand what it's like to actually have to increase by micrometer, the tolerances of these figures so that you don't receive them and they're all loosey goosey. They actually have a little bit of play to them, or they're like stiffer than this, or maybe they're too stiff. They can't move anymore. So, he went through that process, and every few weeks I would as the overall manager of the project, I would have to sit down with him and say, how's it going? And he would relate to me the issues that he's having and the difficulties, and and I would have to say, okay, we're with you. Let me talk. Let me help you. And it wasn't until months later that he started telling us, I feel underappreciated. I feel this. I feel like I'm being abused, and to a certain degree, I'm like, wait, what's going on? You haven't told me this before. And again, that's where communication is key, because there was a disconnect there between the project manager telling him what to do and not giving him any leeway, and really not communicating well. The language barrier was there. There were so many different things that were happening around the time. And as an overall manager of the project, I had to come in eventually and started mediating. And that was a huge thing. So, yeah. And after all of those things, by some minor miracle, as as was alluded to today, Pascal makes a lot of sense. It's crazy, because you go through a year and a half of trying to figure out how to make this damn toy, and finally, by some miracle, like it comes out, and we had to go through color swatches, we had to go through paint, details, and all these different meetings, and it finally comes down, approvals and this and that, just money. It's crazy. But finally, after a year and a half of just absolute absolute hell, right? All of a sudden you hear, yep, here are the samples for approval. They get to the door. You see them, you play with them, you find out that it's absolutely the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen. And then comes the second part of the horror, which is you get dropped, 1,000 boxes of action figures to be shipped out to their backers, and then you start realizing what real hell is like. Again, there's a whole process. But
fulfillment.
Exactly. But what I traded for the world, no, it was an absolute incredible experience, and we're still fulfilling. We're at 95% now.
Nice.
And it still keeps going, because again, logistics is the worst, especially when you're dealing with now tariffs and now here in Canada, postal strikes. Like, a lot of problems going on right now, right? But it will get done. It will be finished. People will get their action figures. So no need for that. So no need. And you know what? Not for nothing. Okay, not for nothing. But I got to tell you, backers are the best and sometimes the worst people to deal with. I'm not even going to joke about that. They are the absolute greatest people in the world. They back your project. They deserve everything. They deserve my accolades. They deserve my thanks. They deserve everything. But at the same time, calm the fuck down, guys. Like, holy crap, you're going to get your stuff, okay? Like, we're not experts. We're not Mattel. We're not Hasbro. We don't have lines of distribution. We don't have years of experience. We're not billion-dollar companies. We're just a team of people who are dedicated to this and love what we're doing, and we will get you your stuff. Please don't shoot the messenger. Please.
No,
it's hard enough to do this without having everybody say, "Where's my figure? Where's my figure? Where's my figure?" I get it. Your figure's coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
Just means the enthusiasm's there, and I want to go back.
And I love that too.
Yeah, I want to go back to Tiffany had a great comment here. I think I needed this pep talk. Thank you for that. These were the right words at the right time. So whatever you're working on, Tiffany, I hope that you are, keeping the focus straight ahead. Know that you don't need to do everything by yourself. And, if you have a great team out there, or if you can find people to be on a team with you, that makes it that much more rewarding.
Yeah, and Two Zone, of course, is a team. They're a wife and husband team, and they do great work together. Amazing custom work. If you guys haven't already, please head over to Two Zone on YouTube. Check out their Instagram. Check out their videos. They do amazing tutorials and overviews of customizations and action figures. And definitely follow them on Instagram. Like, you will see some amazing work, and they're working hard, and it's all for the love of action figures and art at the end of the day. So huge shout out to Two Zone. Thank you guys for being here.
Well, Marco, I want to thank you. Jay wants to thank you for joining us. We had a great chat, talking comics, talking movies, horror. What can people expect from you, and where can they find you?
Well, they can find me online at pmveltry.com or socials, PM Veltry. I'm pretty consistent, at least with that. So basically, name a social media platform. You go to PM Veltry, it'll be there. And the webpage is also just pmveltry.com. What we got coming up is maybe a short film with special effects that's finished in 6 months. plus a comic for next Comic-Con. We'll probably do a Kickstarter February, maybe. We'll see. It's been a while since we did a Kickstarter, so we'll see. We're going to keep it small. It's be like just $400 maybe. We'll see. Nothing big, just enough to cover some print costs. We're not delusional. And so next event's probably that. There's a few other things coming up, but I've forgotten what they are right now. But we have an event section on the webpage too, so they can track us down there.
All right, that's great to hear. Well, Mega J, as usual, it was great to see you. Great to chop it up with you. Marco was great. I want to thank everyone who came by, tuned in, commented, liked it or shared it. Really appreciate that. If you are a fan of toys, please head to Mega J Retro's channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out Marco's stuff on Instagram and hit up his website. Please make sure you follow his stuff. He's got some great stuff coming down the pipe. And we will see everyone in 7. Thanks again, and see everyone soon.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Yeah, everybody. Geek
Pleasure.